All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're back on our Hellstang project, and we've got 56 days until the Hot Rod Power Tour. And today I want to work on the fuel system, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so for the fuel system for this car, today we're not going to get into the fuel pump. I'm going to wait to do that until after the first fire up, just so I can make sure engine fires up, everything's fine, and then we'll get into the back and replace the fuel pump. And I've also got a hot lead kit or some kind of, just basically a larger gauge power wire to run from the pump all the way back up, because the pump we're going to go with on this car is a 525 liter per hour pump from a Hellcat, so it draws a lot of power, so we need to make that a little bit bigger. But today we're going to focus on the fuel system in the engine bay. So from where our two lines come in over on the passenger side, we're going to run some dash 6AN lines over to our fuel pressure regulator. We're also going to plumb in our E85 sensor, and that should be it. Should be pretty simple. We do have to make some cuts into this firewall area to be able to fit our fuel pressure regulator. So let me get you in and show you guys what we got. So from our hardware side, we've got just a cheap fuel pressure regulator that I got off Amazon. Again, link for all this stuff's down below, but this was pretty inexpensive. I think it was like maybe $40. And what you get for 40 bucks, it came with this whole, all these fittings. It came with like, I don't know, 10 or 20 feet of 6AN line. So, I mean, there's a whole kit. So pretty sweet. I mean, if it actually works, right? That's the thing we're gonna have to find out. Now, I did already replace this little factory fitting with one of my push lock connectors. As you guys know, we've been switching everything out to push lock for this car. I've already got this thing clocked. I did have to change the orientation, for the way that I want it to work on our setup. So this should be ready to go. Now, we're also rocking a GM ethanol sensor, E85 sensor. So again, this is an actual AC Delco part. So I didn't go with the Chinese one on this one. And again, I think it was just because of cost. This was like 50 bucks, and this is the one everyone says to go with. And then what you get for these is I just got some adapters to 6AN. So these factory push lock type fittings, whatever they have. So again, link for these are down below. But look, we made it super simple. We can literally just screw this onto our hard line and be able to run this. And then I've got the connector and everything that'll be for the Holly. We'll go over that when we do the wiring of the car. But yeah, this is going to be really simple to get this plumbed in. We'll make up some lines. So let me show you the car side. All right, so here's our two lines that come from underneath the car. These are the metal hard lines. Now I've already got some fittings on here that we put in a while ago. So again, these are just adapting the stock line. I think the factory lines are like 5/16 on the feed and a 1/4 inch return. So they're pretty small, but again, they should flow enough for 500 horsepower, no problem. And then these are just adapters that switch it out to 6AN. So from our feed line, we're just gonna run this bad boy right over to our first rail here. It goes through the rail. We've already got a 6AN line we made a while ago. It goes to the end of the rail. That's where our fuel pressure regulator is going to be. That's going to regulate the amount of pressure to 43.5 or whatever we're going to have it at. And then we're going to have the line run from there back over to the return. Now, somewhere on this return, we are going to have the E85 sensor. Now, where it is, I don't know, but usually you want these things on the return. Otherwise, if you have them on the feed, they can get kind of blown out. They're not really made to take all the pressure. So, we'll figure something out. What works out really great is the wiring for this needs to go through here and then back into the car. So somewhere over here is a perfect spot. So we'll get that kind of plumbed in. So again, it should be pretty easy. We just need to make a couple lines. Now, the biggest thing we need to do is we need to get to cutting, because our little regulator, where I want it. So again, what I did on this is this Holly rail takes a 8AN ORB fitting or something. So this is just a reducer from 8AN down to 6AN female. So this guy will end up going just, he'll be something like that. But what you can see is he's hitting this rail, this kind of, I don't know, drip rail, pinch seam, whatever the heck this thing is. So I already marked it out with my Sharpie lines, and you can see where we're going to make our first cut. It's going to be right after a factory pinch weld, so that'll hold it all together. We'll cut it there. I'm not sure yet if we're going to cut it completely out or if I'm just going to make the two cuts, and then we'll see if we can just take something and just drive this straight down. that might be what we do. But anyway, that should give us enough room. We can get that bolted on, we can get our line made, and finish this whole fuel system project up. Let me show you the part I'm most excited about. We're not going to tackle this today, but it'll be coming soon. So for our fuel pump, this is that hot wire kit. So basically it's just a kit that has a larger gauge wire, so we can run that back up to the car. And then check this bad boy out. This is our QFS pump. This is a 525 liter per hour, so this should flow all the fuel we need. Again, we're only shooting for, maximum 500 wheel horsepower on this car. So we've got 80-pound fuel injectors. We've got this big old pump. Now down the road, if we ever want to upgrade, the only thing we would really need to upgrade would be the size of our fuel lines and then the stock lines, right? Because right now, today, we're going to just keep the stock lines, AN lines, 6 AN up here, and then the bigger fuel pump. So down the road, then I could just run, 8 AN line all the way from the rails all the way back to the car, but it's not needed for now, so we're not going to do it. Oh, also want to point out, so since our car is a 1994 with 120,000 miles or whatever, I've got a new factory fuel filter, so we're going to throw that in when we're doing the whole tank and everything else. And then I've also got kind of a leaking issue with my, wherever the heck this thing goes, like wherever you fill the gas neck or whatever, this goes to the tank. This leaks, or I should say, if you fill the car over halfway, it freaking leaks. So we got a new one of these to throw in while we're at it too, but that's all just kind of, preventative maintenance stuff. Oh, and then this is the actual power tap harness. So I bought this online. I think these had to come off eBay. It didn't come off Amazon, so I'll put a link down below. But this is the power tap harness for the Holley Terminator for the E85 sensor. So when you buy this harness, it already comes with the terminated connector to plug right into the E85 sensor, right? That's freaking awesome. This goes to the Holley power tap, which Holley gives this to you already on their Terminator. So you just plug that in, boom, done. And the only wire we've even got to wire is, this is the E85 output. So we need to run this into our output into the Holley. So this is it, one wire that we've actually got to, connect or, pin out and put into the little Holley connector. And that's it, we're done. And then boom, our car has E85 flex fuel capability. So, and this was only $40, something like that. I mean, pretty cheap. Now, of course, you can make this yourself, but dude, honestly, by the time you buy a couple connectors, some loom and stuff, I mean, come on, you're almost at $40. So, and this is already done and beautiful and good to go. All right, time for a little choppy. So seriously, does anyone know of like some better cutoff wheels for the Dremel? Because Dremel sucks, dude. This thing's just, it's nice because it's small, but like this is like the little wheel I got. It's the heavy duty wheel, and it's just, this thing sucks. Lasted like 2 seconds there and just wore down to absolutely nothing. So I think we're gonna go through about 6 more of these to cut that little 2-inch line we need to cut. I mean, it's just ridiculous. My freaking 4.5-inch angle grinder is awesome, but things just too big sometimes, It's the struggle we live with, boys. All right, so we got this baby chopped out. So let's just see now if this gives us enough room to clearance this all in here. And it looks like it certainly does. See, I think this thing kind of got, last time I had so much trouble to get this off here because they were so tight. I think that edge kind of got stripped out a little bit. Might have to pull the fitting and then get it to go back on. Oh, I think it's going. Yeah, okay. So cool. So I think that gives us not only enough room, but when this AC line's over here, it also snakes, like I think right on top of here. So I think that should be cool. We should be able to have that go. And then we'll have visibility of this mechanical fuel pressure gauge, even though, we're going to have one in the Holley too. But, if we're out here messing with this thing running, at least you can kind of verify it's got fuel pressure. So that's cool. And it'll probably help to, when we have to set it, you know, all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. I also like this location because it's being, you know, supported here, held up here, and then we're going to have our little, you know, the bottom return line will be going out, and I think that'll kind of help support it too. But I don't really know that we need any other brackets. I did think about maybe taking and locating a bracket from the back of here, maybe to this bolt. So maybe that's what we'll do, because that would be a pretty easy thing to fab up. So yeah, okay, maybe we'll do that. Just that way, yeah, I just don't want this thing to have any kind of issues and vibration problems, blah, 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 right? So yeah, so we could probably just tighten the hell out of this thing. Should be cool. And then we'll put a little bracket. Should be good. All right, let's try to make a bracket. I almost forgot too, we need to take our little rust reformer, Rust-Oleum paint stuff, and I'm just going to paint all that bare metal, and that's going to keep it from rusting. This stuff's pretty awesome. Never used it before until this build, and anything that's like bare metal, I've just been painting it. And the cool thing is, it's like, you see how it's white, but it kind of dries clear. So like if you paint it, you know, around some painted surfaces, you really can't tell. Like it's pretty awesome. So it's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, we'll just slap some bunch of this stuff on there, and then that way at least it's protected. We don't have to worry about it rusting. And this stuff, you know, since we're painting it, instead of having to spray paint it, you know, I'm not having to like tape a million things off. So it makes life pretty freaking easy. And I imagine this is going to last for freaking years, right? Because it's 8 ounces. So it should last a long time. But yeah, I just, like I said, slop it on, baby. We don't want to have this crap rusting. All right, let's move on to the bracket. All right, so after an entirely too long of time wasting making this stupid bracket, just screwed around. I don't know, tried to make it look cool, you know, but hey, it's aluminum, had some scrap, got a whole scrap pile of, you know, steel, aluminum and stuff for doing stuff just like this. So, but yeah, basically this bad boy just comes right here. So something like that, kind of got it wrapping a little bit around here, so just give it a little bit. I just don't want the thing vibrating and working its way loose, right? So that should be cool. I need to pull this fuel pressure regulator back off, make sure like the fittings are super tight, and then, yeah, we can actually get that thing put back on, bolted on, get our, we're gonna have a 90 degree on the bottom of that. So I need to get the lines and stuff fitted, but yeah, let's get that bolted on and then we can start fitting up lines, finally. All right, regulator is mounted, so I got this thing fully tightened, and I think I have enough room to be able to get underneath here to tighten our actual line. So I think that'll work. Yeah, it's cool. Look at the bracket. Check it out. Put a little washer on there because this thing I ended up slotting it. That way I had some room to be able to adjust this thing, you know, if I wanted to rotate it or whatever. But yeah, that should hold it in place. So now we got to start figuring out our line lengths. How we're going to run this. So I started kind of playing with this whole thing earlier, you know, maybe having like this little 90 and just have this right here and then, you know, have our lines go. So I'm going to kind of play with this, figure this out. The feed line should be super easy. We just got to figure out if we're doing like a 45 or what, and then it's just going to 90 right to there. So that one's really easy, really short, probably 10, 12 inches. And we'll see how we're going to route these things too. Maybe we'll kind of put them up here behind. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to do the feed line first because it's going to be the easiest. So I think I'm going to use this 45 degree fitting, and then I kind of want the line to just come back up here behind the condenser, and then it'll go to the 90, probably up above these. because we're going to have the downpipe right here. So I want to make sure everything is far as hell away from the downpipe. So we're going to route it up there. My little kit already had this length of hose, which this is too long. But anyway, when you're doing these little hoses, so take the tape off. Otherwise, usually you can't get the stuff to fit over it. So took tape off this side and just slid this piece on, lube it up. I'd like to use just spit. I don't have a fancy jaw vise thing, so I just, we're just using it like this, just trying to be careful not to screw it up, and then you just tighten this thing in there, and you want to make sure that at the same time your hose doesn't back out right as you're getting it tightened in, but that's all there is to it. All right, so for the feed line, so I kind of took the lines, I kind of bent them a little bit because they're really easy to bend. They're just steel. So got this one wrapped around here to our 90, so I kind of like how that is. It's not really even contacting anything except for right here where this AC line goes in. So once that's all put in and everything, I'll put some kind of little piece of protection, whether it's like the fiberglass sleeve, just so that stuff's not rubbing on it, right? But otherwise, yeah, I think that's great. This thing has room to rock and move. Should be good to go. For the E85 deal, we just threw a 90 on there. Same thing, I kind of rocked this back so it's out of the way. Now, these E85 sensors are non-directional, so you can, it doesn't matter what way the fuel flows through it, still works. So I've got mine kind of facing this way because my connector can go right inside the car, give me a ton of room, all that great stuff, right? And then I've got a 45 here. And then looks like we can just kind of make a straight shot, right, back to our fuel pressure regulator. That'll have a 90. So I just got to, kind of start making one side of the line. We'll get a measurement. We'll be done in the next 5 minutes. Should be easy peasy. All right, so it looks like we actually have a mixture of old school AN line, or I guess this is like kind of some kind of rubber material. This is the one I showed you guys earlier, right, where you just kind of, it's really, really easy to do. You just pop it in, you put this around it, drive that thing in, tighten it down, right? That's kind of the old school way. That's what I've always used. Now the PTFE stuff, this is new where it's like kind of plastic inside. Where's the end of it? Yeah, so you can see it's plastic. It's a little bit thinner because it's not like kind of a rubber material. So this stuff is, this is what you want to use for E85. Now I am using kind of a mixture. I think when we did our crossover, I think that's PTFE. Now the feed line, that little rubber hose, that's rubber. So whatever, it's fine. So I can always replace that later on. But the problem I ran into, I didn't realize, is some of these fittings are for old school rubber, and some of them are for the PTFE stuff. I didn't realize that. I think the stuff that came with that fuel pressure regulator, that was the fittings for that. And then this was a whole kit I bought that came with all the fittings that's actually for PTFE. So I didn't realize it, so I'm not waiting. I don't really care enough. Again, the cars, when you have a car like this, man, it doesn't have a whole lot of miles. That AN rubber line is going to last 20 years anyway, but certainly for what we're doing. So not concerned about it, but I do have enough fittings to, I think, be able to make this work with the PTFE. So anyway, I was just going to show you guys. So you got to, when you get this cut, take your tape off, and then on these it's weird because you got to put this metal ferrule thing, make sure it's lined up with the white plastic, and then you go ahead and you pop, like, I think this piece over and drive it all in. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get this side done, and then I'm going to cut it kind of to length, get the other side on. We'll be done with this. All right, so I got everything tightened down on the fuel lines. Those are kind of a pain in the butt, but we got it all tight, so I think we're good. Obviously, we'll have to wait till we try to start it. We'll see if we got leaks or whatever anywhere. Yeah, so I think ultimately I'll end up, I'll probably like zip tie this thing to this condenser, but for now I'm going to leave it because we still have to, put in wiring, so we may need to move this stuff around and, you know, all that stuff. So we'll leave it. I did put a little piece of, I don't know, 7 or 8 inches of that gold, you know, fiberglass protective material just to keep that AN line from, you know, rubbing on the aluminum of the transmission and stuff. So, so that should be cool. And once we get the AC in, we'll see about this, what we want to do. But honestly, that's metal. I'll probably just same thing. I'll put a little piece of the gold stuff, but I think we're good to go for now. So yeah, 6 AN line. We'll have the 525 in the back, 80-pound injector. So should have plenty of fuel to flow this. I think it's a 78 millimeter turbo. And again, we're only running, you know, 7, 8, maybe 10 pounds of boost max, right? So whatever that gets us, maybe it gets us 450-ish at the wheel, something like that with the heads and cam and intake and all that stuff. But whatever it is, so we'll see. All right, guys, so our fuel system's done. That's going to be it for this one. Next video, hopefully later today, actually, I should be having the fittings that we need for the turbocharger. Then we can get this turbo finally permanently mounted. And then what that'll do is then that'll allow me to also start mocking up some other stuff, like the air conditioning, all that stuff. We can get started, get rolling. So don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Don't miss a video. We've only got, 56 days left till the power tour, so there's going to be a whole bunch of videos coming to get this car freaking finished and back on the road. With any luck, I'm hoping by next weekend, so like whatever that is, April 22nd, that's what I'm hoping we can fire this thing up or try to fire it up for the first time. So fingers crossed.